Meghan Markle is apparently trying to make Balenciaga work, but it's definitely not working for her as she shows up to Kris Jenner's birthday party in a baby to baby event in what I can only describe as a horrifically awful ensemble, which really drives home the fact that Meghan Markle is sort of delusional about her body shape. She does not know how to dress herself. And all she can do is highlight her frame in the absolute worst way possible. So we're going to get into it. So hopefully we can all learn a bit of something. But if you guys haven't been to Royal Fashion News before, my name is Brittany, and this is a channel for all those who have a passion for royal fashion. So if you guys want to hit that subscribe button, I would absolutely love to have you back. And I will say, I do want to do a whole video on the recent discovery of a collection of Hapsburg jewelry, but I'm kind of debating whether or not I want to do it here or maybe do something longer on Counting the Centuries, which is a new channel connected to this one that I want to start because the Florentine diamond, which was discovered, has a rather long and fascinating history. So I think that's definitely worth a bit of a deep dive. And that is what Counting the Centuries is for. We haven't officially launched it yet in terms of, I don't have a firm timetable on things, but I'm sort of thinking I kind of want to do maybe a bit more of an exploration on that channel of this amazing discovery. Because if you're not aware, several pieces of the Hapsburg Imperial Jewelry Collection were discovered in a Canadian bank vault. They had been placed there while the family was in exile during World War II, and apparently somebody had forgotten about it until they sort of figured out it was there and they opened it up. And the Florentine diamond, which may go back as far as the 1400s, was in there. All these pieces had been considered lost. They're part of larger collections that have been broken down or sold. And so this is a pretty fantastic discovery and well worth an exploration. But the more I see Meghan Markle's fashion with this Balenciaga dress, the more I want to talk about it. Because, guys, I remain fascinated because all of us choose fashion looks that maybe are not the most flattering on us at times, but you always think of celebrities and it's like they have access to so many things, so many options. They can tailor things and things that most of us normal people can't do. And yet, Meghan Markle somehow chooses a dress that hits her in the most unflattering way, and I would argue adds about 30 pounds to her frame, which I know is not there. So, what am I talking about in particular? Now, I want to show you guys the first picture that we have here. And this is from the Baby to Baby event, which is the first event Harry and Meghan went to before Kris Jenner's party. And so here she is posing with Serena Williams. Now, this is kind of hard to see, but there's obviously a couple of details we can all pick up on immediately. The first is that I think actually Serena looks kind of fabulous here. I do like this dress. But Meghan, it looks like she has two different blacks on. This looks dark navy, like very dark navy, and this looks black. And honestly, guys, I've had this trouble too. Sometimes I'm like looking at stuff and I'm going, is this navy? Is this black? And I'm like looking at it constantly trying to figure it out. And I just never can. But what I want to like really focus on, ooh, an interesting detail here. What is the wine they're using? It's Aveline, which is Cameron Diaz's brand, not As Ever, which is Megan's, just wanting to point that out. So, is that this is hitting Megan in sort of the worst way. Like it looks weirdly casual. Like you could recreate this outfit with literally a bodysuit and a black tablecloth or black sheets or something. It looks very, you could say, undone and it looks like weirdly casual. But what I find really interesting too is how it fits her up top here because it seems like it's so flat. Like her chest area just looks bizarre. It like really I would argue, and I'm not trying to say this to be mean, but I feel like again, we can all learn something here from understanding or trying to understand what our body types actually are rather than what they aren't. And trust me, those are hard lessons to learn sometimes. And sometimes embarrassing lessons to learn. But with her chest being so flattened and her having, I think, an abnormally large rib cage for her size because her limbs are very thin. They're really tiny, they're itty bitty, but her all her weight basically is from her shoulders down to her hips and butt. Like that's where she carries basically her like probably 85-90% of her body weight are in these two sections. And so or in this whole area, minus of course the arms. And so I think she has an abnormally large upper chest area here and a normally large rib cage for her size. So honestly, this sort of looks mannish to me. It honestly looks really mannish. And I almost don't even know how to fix this because I'm like, number one, you should not be wearing this. Like, your boobs are not flattered by this at all. So Serena here, granted, it looks like she has a little bit of a tummy there. So I would argue, like, obviously that's not ideal, but this is flattering and she has a feminine shape. And I know I see some people in the Twitter comments making other comments. Don't do that. We're not doing that. We're talking about how this dress looks, and it's lovely. It's a nice dress, but this is horrible because it fits her like so wrong. Because Megan's challenge is that she has no waist. She's sort of barrel shaped. And I think she's also trying to puff her chest out, which I feel like makes this worse. It doesn't actually help her, in part because she doesn't have much of a chest to begin with. So she almost should redo something like this. This might work in a suit or something, but it just really doesn't work here because where it hits her is where she's at her thickest. So even though her legs are long and thin, she's capitalizing the thickest part of her body. So for me, I have right now I have more of a pear-shaped, but really if I lost a decent amount of weight, and I have before and I'm working on it, but if I have like lost a lot of weight, I have more of an hourglass shape. So for me, anything that hits me sort of like in my waist, like my upper waist area is great because it highlights my shape in a good way because I have that shape to work with. Her challenge is that she needs to create it and she needs to figure out where that hits. Now, for me, because I carry more weight at the bottom, I need more of an A line rather than an empire. An empire for me would make me look bigger, whereas an A line makes me look smaller. So that's sort of the challenge Megan has here. And then in addition to that, I was actually looking at pictures. I believe these are velvet and they might be technically brown because Meghan Markle's clutch is actually brown for this outfit, but she's wearing black and she has gold accessories. Like if you are going to a James Bond themed party, which she was right after this, I would go more heavily and hard on the gold accessories rather than brown. Like that doesn't go together at all. So if you're curious what I'm talking about, let me show you the picture here. This was them actually arriving at the event. And again, somebody said that her accessories were actually brown, which maybe I could see, but like the bow too doesn't go with this. This is a very streamlined look. A bow on your shoe does not make it feminine. It's kind of actually distracts. You should actually go with a sans bow shoe. That would be my personal opinion as well. So this is from the Daily Mail. Again, so this is them arriving at Kris Jenner's party. And again, it could be the flashes, but people are saying this is brown. I'm like, why are you wearing brown, black, and navy? Because I really do think this is navy. Like none of this goes together. It doesn't go together at all. And it's sort of an absolute mess. I can see the earrings being nice, but these Aquazzura accessories are really, really terrible and not flattering to this look at all. But probably the worst picture, and the one that I want to highlight here as to why this outfit was so incredibly bad, is this shot. And this shot was originally posted by Kris Jenner and then it was deleted. But guys, if you look at this, this adds, I want to say like 30 pounds to her frame. And we know she's thin. We know she's skinny. That's not what I'm saying at all. But because if you don't pick the right fashion piece, and of course, we're all guilty of this. We are all guilty of this, but we don't have a massive team of people who can make sure we're not making dumb decisions here. It adds an immense amount to her frame. Kris, who's 70, Megan's who's 44. I mean, there's what, 26 years between them? Kris looks younger, more fashionable, like so much better than Meghan. I don't even know what she's trying to wear. Like, how does this the James Bond theme at all. And it's kind of weird because you have her boobs right here, and then this goes out too, like when it should go in. Like, it's all wrong. Now, I am not, of course, a fashion expert. I'm actually be curious if maybe an empire waist might help Megan, but her problem is that she needs to find how to create a waist on her frame, and she obviously doesn't know how to do that. And I don't envy her. I think her frame's actually really, really tricky to dress, but she has more than enough money to avoid mistakes like this. And so I would encourage all you, the reason we talk about this, and of course, we need to get back to the best and worst dress list. I started on September and haven't been able to finish yet. We might move on to August, October, and November, and these sorts of things. Is that when you're looking for fashion, and this will take a while to figure out. And again, we're all guilty of wishing we had a different body type. But once you figure out the stuff that really works for you, it really is game changing because you can pull out anything and it looks pretty gosh darn good. So, like, my favorite thing is wearing dresses. Most of them have an A-line shape. I like shirt dresses too. I feel like they're very flattering on my frame. I don't wear jeans that much, to be honest. Like, I have them and I do wear them, but they're not what I generally gravitate to because I really like how dresses look. Even in wintertime, I have like sweater dresses I can wear because as well, I can really highlight my shape because again, I do have bit more of that hourglass frame because my shoulders are actually pretty tiny compared to like what my hips are wider and stuff. So my shoulders are pretty tiny. So I'm actually very flexible in what I can fit up top. So yeah, maybe my waist here and my jeans might be a 14, but I can go down to 6, 4, 2, whatever on a blazer sometimes, depending on the fit and the brand. Because up here is just tinier. Obviously, usually it doesn't button because I got more bazingas than she does. But like usually they actually do fit around my shoulder fairly well. And it's all about figuring out those tricks that work for you. This is a process. Some people find it out when they're in their teens and their 20s. Other people it takes them till they're 30 and 40s. And even after that, and sometimes you have to rethink about that after you've had kids and these sorts of things. What is your body doing? What does your body do generally? But you can figure those things out. And I would encourage you to experiment a bit and watch how people react to you because that tells you a lot too. If I wear something and I don't think it looks good, but then I have 6 other people telling me I look great, well, hey, maybe that does work. Maybe I can think about this in different ways. And so like for me, I've adopted a bit more skirts. And what I do is because again, my hips are a bit wider and stuff, I do a skirt and then I usually do a crop top. I don't normally wear crop tops because I carry weight a little bit lower. And so for me, crop tops and these sorts of things really highlight that. So I use skirts and like say shorter tops to really create that effect again of that more and highlight that more hourglass shape. But obviously, people don't share that. And so for you, again, I'm not an expert in all fashion items and everything, but I would suggest go to a store, try on some things you know you like, and maybe 1 or 2 things I'm like, let me give this a try. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But if you have something you're like, I think I look good, go to work, go to church, go to school, whatever, and see how people react. Because if somebody, or even in the store, I've had people tell me in store, I love your outfit. What does that tell me? The outfit's good because people can recognize that and go, oh, that looks good. And it doesn't happen all the time. And I do have, of course, my bad fashion days, as everybody does. I would also say I'm not the most fashionable when I'm on a trip because generally it's like more about functionality than anything else. But I tend to choose things that end up being quite flattering. And that's just because I figured out how to dress myself. In some dresses, if they don't have an immediate shape, I add a belt to add some shape to it. And it really works for me. But Megan, despite again all the resources in the world, somehow thought this Balenciaga skirt, dress, suit monstrosity thing. I mean, you can even see the stinking zipper there. Thought that looked good. And I'm sorry, but that is definitely a fashion don't. And again, all of us will have days where we don't look good, but when you're on the international stage, there are ways to avoid looking a little bit like a hot mess. But guys, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall speak to you again very soon. Bye.